Today we're gonna kind of start in on the sheathing project.
Alright, clear.
They're turning out so nice.
I just want to sit here.
So we just got back with our new chain plates.
Beautiful thing.
Finding your next project?
I was like really concerned that Garrett would be taller than me.
I am really stoked with living on the boat.
Before actually starting the sheathing, there's a bit of a prep list. Rolf came over to help. Using his metal detector, we're hunting for any hidden screws. After discussing and concluding we were going to sheathe the bottom of the boat, this was task 1 on the prep list, denailing our reclaimed lumber stock. Like most boat projects, the prep list can often be longer than the project itself. To sheathe the boat, we're going to need planks, tar, and screws.
This silly boy said we were gonna do some computer work together, and then he disappeared, and I see him just carrying these long sticks all by himself all the way up to our truck up there.
That does sound silly.
Silly. And then my mom asked me if I wanted wine and pizza, so I'm kind of slacking.
Slack with me, Ruth. No, I don't think I've been on a single video. Probably for good reason.
So we're going to need a couple thousand screws, since we're essentially double planking the boat.
Alright, so it says, what, $190.97?
Yeah, and it says for orders over $90 is free shipping.
Oh, that's awesome.
To not break the bank, Garrett did some research.
So what did you ultimately decide to go with?
So I found these screws that are, they're galvanized, and then they've got an epoxy coating over them. So, I'm interested to see how they work out.
And compared to the $800 quote for other fasteners, it was too good not to try.
And what are these for?
It's a secret.
It's a secret.
Yeah. It's a secret.
More secrets?
Yeah. I like secrets. I'm very mysterious.
Well, you guys already know what they're for, but I'll let Garrett explain why.
It's an experiment. You know, I was going to go with just the standard hot dip galvanized screws. Because it's a purely sacrificial layer, I was just curious, you know. I'm, I guess, that type of mind that I like to see how things do, things that are outside of the ordinary, things that people wouldn't usually use because they're not, you know, marine, they're not for a boat. But, you know, we got a ton of them, and if they rust out really quickly, I'll just keep on it. We're gonna haul the boat out every year, and I'll just keep an eye on them. They're bedded in the boat, and they're covered over with epoxy, and they've got an epoxy coating on them. I have a feeling that the epoxy coating on them might last just as long as a good galvanized coat, and they're zinc plated and they're epoxy coated, so I don't know, we'll see. That's the thing, it's an experiment, and it's not that big of a deal. Yeah.
You built the whole boat. What's what's the difference of replacing, you know, a couple thousand screws?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And it's a purely sacrificial layer, so it's not like, it's not a matter of strength. Like, if those screws rust out really fast, well, it's not going to compromise the strength of the hull. So we plan to sail far. We plan to cross oceans. The idea originated when because we want to sail to the ice, but it then kind of became like a back burner thing. Well, maybe we'll do it eventually. But I started thinking about it more and more while the boat was in the boat yard, while we were working, while we had our space set up, and while we had all this wood. And I thought, like, well, would it be beneficial to have, even now, because we're not planning on going to the ice anytime soon. We're planning on sailing to the tropics and spending a good amount of time in the tropics before the boat ever sees ice. But you know, as more and more I thought about it, you know, I figured, well, it'd be really probably beneficial in the tropics too, mainly as a sacrificial layer for worms. It also definitely acts as a good layer of impact resistance. Like, you never know. You know, I know people say, oh, it's gonna add a bunch of extra weight. I don't care. You know, our boat is a heavy, super heavy, full keel traditional boat. Extra weight on our boat is not a big deal. You know, it's not a racing boat. It'll just make your ride more like an old Cadillac. Inspired a lot by all the like the fishing boats and, you know, the burly boats at wood places that I saw up in Washington when we were there that had wood sheathing. It's something I want to do, so I should do it.
So Garrett's next crazy project is wanting to sheath from the water line down to the top of the ballast for extra worm protection and strength and stuff. So we've got some of those boards, and since we found out where all the nails are in these pieces with Rolf's help and his metal detector, some of these are cedar, some are fir, but we're gonna pull out the fir ones, which is what we're gonna use for the sheathing, and denail them. Whoa. Send them through the planer to get the paint off. And we ordered the nails this morning, the fasteners for the sheathing. So hopefully we'll be able to put sheathing planks up later this week. And that's like the last big task before she sees the water. That and painting the hull, which is just fun. First one. 15 more to go. pretty good. I think this is board number 7. So after the next one we'll be halfway. And just taking a little break. 5 out of the 16 boards are Douglas fir, and then the other are Western red cedar. And oh man, the smell is so good. There's something like so, it's like a lavender or, you know, chamomile. There's just something so, I don't know, warm and homey about Western red cedar. And this is what we're going to plank all of the inside of the boat. So where all the plywood cabin walls are, we're gonna strip them with this wood. And oh, when it gets warm, the smell is just so good. He's gonna cut them all like this. So we'll probably be able to get like somewhere between like 15 and 20 strips out of this. And they'll be, and by cutting them that way, they'll all be vertical grain. They're turning out so nice.
I just want to sit here.
So pretty.
So Garrett and Rolf met up with some people that Rolf has worked with before. They have their own sort of metal machining fabrication shop also. They're in Petaluma, so pretty close. And they went the other day and took our material for the chain plates to see, kind of get a cost estimate of just having them do it. And then, you know, that'll be done and free us up to do other things. So they quoted $280, which is a little high, but also it's something that can be done while we're continuing to do other things, so it's kind of a time saver. So that's what we're gonna do. The channels will have the chain plates wrapped around them soon. I think Friday, 4 days from now-ish, they should be ready. And then we're gonna take them over to Rolf's shop, and Garrett's gonna cut out the holes for the fasteners. And then once we get those on around the channels, then I can paint the top sides. So someday this week I'm gonna grind sand back where I filled up all the bungs for the new bulwark stanchions, and then reprime that just a little bit, and kind of start setting myself up to paint the hall. Maybe next weekend, or maybe next Monday. That would be great.
We're driving. Woo!
Thanks for your excellent filming skills. It pleases me.
Does it please you?
Yes, Garrett, you make me very happy.
Oh no! Circle of confusion coming up.
Oh no! Do I just keep going left? Okay.
That was scary.
Thanks for your help.
Watch where you're going, Ruth. Eyes on the road. Look, it's an old lady with pink pants.
What's this little salvage yard? That looks kind of cool. Heritage salvage?
That's what I was talking about, yo.
Ooh, we should definitely go in there though.
I'm gonna buy a bunch of wood.
Aww.
But yeah, let's go in.
But it kind of looks cool. I hope we have time.
So I'll have you sign that one and sign this one here.
So what's step number 1?
I guess find out which ones are which. So chain plates will be on the hull like this, since we're gonna have dead eyes. We're gonna weld a really heavy wall, but small little tube lengthwise here. Just weld it there, so that when we do our dead eyes, which are going to be up here, we're going to bend steel that wraps around the dead eye, and we're going to put a pin through where that dead eye comes down through that tube, and that'll let it kind of swivel like that, and that'll hold it on. Oh yeah. Another beautiful thing.
Looks so awesome. Like, oh, it almost goes down to the chine. It's like 2 planks away. 2.5 planks.
Yeah, I just wanted to stop it just above the water line.
Yeah.
Some of them I might need to trim a hair off the bottom, but that was to be expected.
Yeah.
Because they were saying, I told them they got some wiggle room with the lengths, and they say, well, you know, better to make them a little longer than a little shorter. So
Yeah, and then you can cut them.
yeah. All right, last one.
Did you do the starboard side already?
Yeah, that'll fit great.
Nice.
Yep. Another perfect fit. sweaty and dirty.
So what you doing in here?
Building a guest bunk.
Frankenstein guest bunk.
So why are we building a guest bunk? Who's coming to visit?
So it's funny, you know, on YouTube or just in any sort of videos where you're not seeing somebody face to face, you have no idea if they're tall or if they're short. And first and only time I saw Lynn Pardee speak at the Wooden Boat Festival last year, you can hardly see her over the podium. And then you realize she's like 4 foot something. She's under 5 feet, I'm pretty sure. And you're like, whoa, I had no idea she's so short. No wonder they can get away with such a small boat. But I just had the opposite experience. I had no idea how tall Simon was. And I'm in cleaning up down below, and like, he's so tall. Look how big these shoes are.
Simon, a fellow vlogger and boat masochist, nearly a year ago really helped us out and gave us a shout out on his channel. He's done van life, motorbike touring, and is now really a glutton for punishment. He's restoring an old Warham catamaran.
Yeah, it's a little bit chaotic. Yeah, it's a bit of a handful to wrap your head around.
I love his channel. I find myself laughing.
That's so heavy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Salivating
Space.
and being inspired by his artistic eye. And now he's here for a visit.
Finding your next project?
It's a good looking boat though. Looks like a lot of fun. I'm not a small man. Keep buying more boats. I don't know what it is about boat building, but you just become like a hoarder.
Oh yeah.
So I went from like literally everything I own fit on that motorcycle.
Yeah.
To whatever the disaster that my life is today.
Start high, because a lot of times there's a slope in the grain. It might go down or it might go up.
Okay.
So if you start here and there's a slope in the grain, it's going to hit down in.
Yeah.
So you just start with it high and just knock it, and then you see, okay, that grain's sloping up. So now you can bring it down. Yeah. And then just get it like, yeah, about that's fine. You can go a little bit more than that, but yeah,
all right.
All it takes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
No rest for the wicked, huh?
This is rest. It's nice when it's not your boat. Someone can just tell you what to do.
That's very true.
Yeah. You're like, why do I do this? When do I do this? Who knows? Who cares? I'm doing it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I can see the allure why people are coming out to help me on my boat.
Yeah.
You don't have to think. You're just
Yeah.
like, sand, that? Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, you don't have to think of the million other steps that you still have to do.
And in what order they all should be done, and blah, blah, blah. And whether you're going to run out of money for material before that.
Garrett and I were all excited to take the day off, but Simon says he's here to work. We checked off some lingering, tiny, tedious tasks, and he helped plane the remaining Doug fir boards for the sheathing.
Filling in the void so it doesn't look super weird.
So we'll put it down on these blocks, these guys right here. You can go with the back to that.
I push it through. Yeah, that much.
Hold the phone, folks.
Yummy. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's a good cheers.
Yeah. That's why I love being back down here. Yeah. This place is amazing.
Not used to filming such a tall person. I'll be like down here, I'm realizing I'm just filming your neck. Yeah, watching
I'll do this and he can do that.
Yeah, there we go. There was someone
I don't know if you got this on camera, but I was like really concerned that Garrett would be taller than me. Like a little pathetic little weak thing. I was really worried.
A little ego thing that might be.
Yeah, but look. So this is what I like. This is the woodsman I strive to be. You know, I'm getting like, I don't know if I can make the dreadlock commitment, although I don't think for you that was a decision.
No, the tar pretty much made that decision for me.
I only wish they could have stayed longer, but Melly has a dream of her own to fulfill. Riding her Harley from Vancouver, Canada to the City of Angels. Their film hasn't yet come out, but you can check out the detour on Simon's channel.
He just knows you're gonna pick him up.
Watching them roll southbound, time slowed. I heard my heart beat. A dream doesn't always come alive true to your vision, but finishing it nonetheless takes courage. Good luck, Melly. Your note is now the first entry to our guest book. I loved it. Up next, we start in on the sheathing, dry fitting our first run at the waterline, then cracking into our first bucket of tar.
Going with my sticky tar queen.
Really good. I'm too much of a dork. I'm excited. The first run up, and now we're working on the second one.
And our awesome neighbor Tyler helps us push to finish the sheathing above the chine before the day's end. Eventually we'll have planked both port and starboard, then moving on to our last project before launching, sanding the entire hull to finish paint.
He's working hard. Yeah, you. That's about as much as excitement as we're gonna get. Oh, and back down.
Use his tail to show his emotions, right?
Very, very minimal.
Yeah.